welcome to Polymer Clay TV. I'm Ilysa, and today we are going to be making our veneers with magic transfer paper. And we've had some questions, and I want to answer these and give you a better idea of how to work with it, because there are tips. Because if you just, do one certain thing, it may not work for you. So I want to tell you exactly how to do it so that it works for you every time. Because I very rarely have issues with it. And so I found that these tips work. So we are also going to be making a polymer clay trading coin, and I'll show you how I did this. And this, believe it or not, is all done with magic transfer paper and then a few other little techniques which I will share with you. So, but the first step here is doing the transfer. What you want to do is you want to condition your clay really well. You don't want it cracking and crumbling. You want it conditioned well, and you want to roll it out into the thickness you need. And I think I've done like a 3 on my pasta machine. And you want to take the paper, which comes in sheets that are 8.5 by 11. We sell them with the pre-printed designs, or you can get them blank. It's totally up to you, but you must use a laser printer with the magic transfer paper. It will not work with the inkjet, so no inkjet, only laser. Just remember that. So okay, so the big tips here are, once you put your paper on, it's going to go face down onto the clay, like so. You want to burnish it gently onto your paper, onto your clay, and you can do that just with your hand. You can roll your rod over it to make sure there's no air pockets. You can kind of go in a circular motion. I do all of these things, plus I take my clay and I turn it upside down and I roll it on my work surface, rub it on my work surface. And that helps just to get any kind of air pockets out or anything that's in there, and it makes it adhere. So, secret number 1 here, if you bend your clay like I'm doing here and the paper pops off, it is not ready to be transferred. You want your clay to adhere to the paper so that when you move it, it's not popping up in any place or section. Then you know it's ready to be transferred. Let me see if I have one that pops up. Like a lot of times they'll want to pop up in the corner, and if it does, like here, I just was able to pull it a little bit away from the paper. It's not ready in that section. So I'll give it a little rub, and I can set it aside or whatever. And you'll also see, this is another tip too, you also see that the oils of the clay will start to sink into the paper. And if you don't see that, then it's not ready either. So these are tips that you have to consider when working with magic transfer paper. There's a way to tell when it's ready and when it's not. And if in doubt, just always make sure that you can bend it and it's not pulling away from the clay. And if it is, it's not ready, or if it's not really, if the oils haven't really sunk in, then that part may not transfer perfectly. So just give it a little more time, get a little more rub or whatever. Okay, so another question we've had is, how do I get all the fibers off? The most important thing with the magic transfer is to go ahead and get rid of the paper the very first time, and I'll show you that. But once you've done that, you want to let it dry. Okay, once it dries, then you can touch it almost as much as you want. But that first initial removal of the paper, you want to just get the bulk of it off and not try to get every little fiber off that very first time. Because if you do try to get every little fiber off, you can end up messing up your design. But once it dries and the ink sets into the clay, you can manipulate it a whole lot more. So that is a big tip, and you'll see what I mean once you start playing with it. So let's start with this big guy. Even though that's not the one we're using on today's project, I just want you to see because it's nice and big. So I just have a little thing of water, and you can do this any way you want. You can run it under a faucet with a light stream of water. You can put it in a bowl of water. But for now, I'm just going to kind of drip water all over it, because I want you to see the paper starts to come off. You'll see it looks pulpy, and that's basically what you're going for. That paper, once it's removed, will leave the design in place. And I'll show you right now. Don't be afraid to saturate it either. But I know you can see this on camera at least, which is good. So this is what I'm doing now. Now I'm removing this big bulky layer of the paper. I'm not trying to get every single little fiber. I'm just trying to get the bulk of it so that I see my design through it. Because this is the stage where you could actually remove the ink if you're not careful with it. But as you see, it comes off really easy. You can wipe all that up, get it out of your way, and you can continue a little more by adding more water at this point, just if there's still a large chunk of it on there. But like I said, you don't want to go overboard at this stage. You really want to just kind of get that main layer off. So at this point here, I'm going to set this aside and let it dry a little before I try to get any more fibers off. And that will let my ink set. Okay, so as you can see, it transferred beautifully and it's ready to be, you know, made into something really cool. And this was the Mandala Madness. I believe it was in one of the boxes, the Create Along boxes, which you can check out at createalongbox.com. I think we have a couple left for the April one. But anyways, let's move on to the next one. This is the one that I used to make this coin. This is the background on this coin. Okay? And so let's just do the same exact thing. Drop a little water. And I did these in different colors because I wanted you to see you're not limited to just white. You can do any color that's light enough to show the black ink. However, one thing I should say is you can also print these in color. You're not stuck with black ink. If you have a color laser printer, by all means, print it in color. So you can do both with this paper, which is really cool. We don't do a lot of the color. We did get a color printer, but we just haven't gotten to one of those things. Life. And so you just want to scrape off that top layer again until you remove most of that big chunky paper. And wipe it up. Clean up your area a little. If you want to have a lot of paper towels handy. Now you can see right there, there's a hunks of fibers. So those those are bigger fibers you can just kind of wash away like this. Really easy. I even pat it with, well, you probably don't want to pat it with the paper towel that you use to wipe all the fibers up. But there you have it. I mean, there is no, well, there is magic to this, but not really. Not on my part, on the paper's part. And you can see there's still, you know, different fibers coming off. And, you know, so I'll just go ahead and get all those big ones. And once again, I'm going to let this dry. Now, once it's dried, then I can totally come back and get the rest of the fibers off. And you know that you've gotten all the fibers because you can feel them. And when you feel them, you want to kind of do a light circular motion to kind of get them off. That's how I, you know, manage getting them off the best. So this is still too wet. I'm going to let all this dry and I'll be back. And we can go start making the coin. So now we're going to make the coin part. And so I have the 2.5-inch coin cutter. And I'm cutting out the piece that we just transferred, the blue. You want to get a good cut. And as always, clean up your ends. Now, this is still a little wet, so, I mean, it's best to make sure that it dries and you get all your fibers off and the whole 9 yards so that, you know, you're ready to go and won't mess anything up. But I'm moving along quick. So I have that. And like I said, you want to just clean it up. And I have a smaller cutter for the lotus. And same thing, just, you know, cut your lotus out. I can discard all that. If you have any extra clay on the edges, obviously you want to clean that all up. I usually just use my fingers to do that. If there's extra that you have to cut, you can use a blade or you can use an X-Acto knife, whichever works for you. If for some reason a little tiny bit didn't cut the way you like it, just go ahead and do that. Alright, so I wanted to also show you that things look so different on different colors of clay. Here it is on the light colored clay, which is the latte color, and here it is on the light blue. So same exact transfer, but look at how different it looks. So I'm going to go for contrast with this, but I did want to show you that, that so you can see that depending on the color you actually put the transfer on, you're going to get a completely different look, Okay, so I kind of want to center this in the middle. And let's kind of try to get it there and line up my points so it looks right. Now, it will adhere. It's raw clay to raw clay, just like any other raw clay. The transfer really doesn't impede it to stick. It will stick still even with the transfer. It's not like when you put a mica powders on, sometimes it won't stick to the clay. The transfer doesn't work that way. So you don't need to use anything extra. You can just plop it right on the clay and you'll be good to go. So you have that there, like that. Now I started to color in the sections. Now with the last one I did, which let me show you that one here. 1 second, let me peel it off. Okay, it's upside down. Now, what I did was I wanted an ethereal kind of look, so I started off with the bronze, is it bronze? Let's see, it's copper pan pastels. And you don't need a lot. I just kind of wanted a light little, and it's going to look totally different on this color than it did on the blue, as you'll see. Let me move that blue one away. I'll bring it back in to show you the difference after. But I'm not looking for full saturation. I'm kind of just looking to, kind of give it a little bit of color and, add something to it. And I go all the way around. I'm not too worried if I get it on the blue. I think it adds to it. But you don't want to like oversaturate. You just want a tiny little bit here and there, and because you still want to see the design coming through. Oops, it looks like I have an air pocket. Oh, just got to push that to the side. There it goes. I felt it pop. Or come out, rather. Okay, so now I've got the copper on there, and now I'm going to add some white. I really like the way the white starts to, kind of give it that ethereal kind of look. And it's just random. You can totally do it whichever way you want. I'm kind of just like, going around, kind of outlining, the edges, add a little here and there. You want to still be able to see your design. So at this point, I've got a little ball stylus, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to follow those lines, trace it with my ball stylus. And as I'm doing it, it starts to pull back a little bit of a layer of the clay. And so you're going for that. You want it to have like a carved kind of look. And so I'm just going to follow all the way around on all of my petals. If there's a little dash, I go ahead and add that. I'm not looking to like totally gouge this. I'm just kind of looking to outline it and make the lines more visible with a little bit of the underlying clay showing through, if that makes sense. That's what I did with the other one. And I'm just, following the lines and, and kind of just highlighting them in a way. So just, take your time with this. You don't have to go as fast as I am. I'm just trying to get through this so that you can see. If you need to wipe off your ball stylus, by all means, wipe it off. And, just continue around until you got it. And now when I get to these little dots in the center, I actually use the ball stylus to poke those. And, oops, sorry about that. Okay, so that looks like I've gotten it. And if there's any extra clay that's like lingering on top, you can wipe that off. Then, now I want to come back, and I'm just going to do this with my finger, is I want to take this dark, it's magenta extra dark pan pastel, pan pastel. And I'm just putting a little on my finger, like so. And now I'm going to go back and rub over it. So this kind of highlights the top and gives it a whole different look, but still you can now see the clay coming through. And it kind of gives it like a carved look. So that's it on the beige. This is it on the blue. You can see there's a difference there, but both are pretty cool. And then I just went ahead and I added the crystals around, and gosh, we have these crystals now in 12 colors, so you can just pick what color you think would look nice. I think I'll just stick with this pink color that I used on the other one. And these are hot fix, so when you bake them, they'll adhere to the clay. And as simple as just laying them around this circle. I like to kind of go, I have this theory that, or theory, I don't know if it's a theory, but I have this way of doing things where I kind of do every, north, south, east, and west. And then I fill in from there. And that way it helps me on spacing. Because if you go ahead and start here and kind of go around, you might have one that's a little wide, that's placed in not the right spot. But this way here, it kind of gives me these dividers. And that way I can kind of stick another one in the middle there and know that I have room for like one more on each of these sides. See what I'm saying? It just helps me when I do it this way. It's just a tip that I found helpful over the years. And I just continue to do the same thing all the way around, one in the middle, and one on each of these sides. See how it helps with the spacing when you do it this way? One in the middle and one on each side. And that's all there is to it. And you can really make a cute coin. The sky's the limit. Like I said, the magic transfer paper comes blank if you want to put your own designs on it. You must use a laser printer, or you can get them with the designs pre-printed, which we call Color Me Magic transfer paper. And as simple as that, you have something really cute. I love it. I love it. I love it. And now you would bake this at the temperature recommended on the brand of clay you use. And I used Primo, so it would be like 275. And if you want afterwards, you could coat it with some resin or add a little, I don't know, clear embossing powders or if you don't want to shine or whatever, some matte medium or something that will, add to it. It's totally up to you. You don't have to do that. It's good to go once it's baked. Nothing's going to come off. But, lots of possibilities. As I always say, the sky is the limit. So have fun with it. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'd love to see what you guys make. Come on over to polymerclaytribe.com, which is our Facebook group, and share what you make. So I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me.